It started like any other quiet afternoon in Willowbrook, a picture-perfect suburb with trimmed lawns, identical mailboxes, and an HOA president who took her clipboard way too seriously. I had just pulled into the driveway after my son Evan's occupational therapy session. He was 10, sweet as can be, and he lived with epilepsy. That day, he looked extra tired, flushed cheeks, drooping eyelids, and a nervous twitch in his fingers. I recognized the signs he hadn't seized yet. But his body was warning me, it's coming. Evan climbed out of the car, wearing his bright yellow headphones, the ones with little Pikachu decals. He stuck on himself. He loved those headphones. They were his shield from a world that never quite understood him. But in Willowbrook, the real threat didn't come from other kids. It came from across the street. Cue Lorraine Harper, HOA president. HOA queen, really. She didn't just run the neighborhood. She ran it like a cold-blooded CEO. And her real estate investments, let's just say, they extended well beyond her white picket fence. Word was she had her eyes on rezoning part of the block, including our row of townhomes, to turn into luxury condos. But see, families like mine didn't exactly fit into that brochure image. So when she suddenly appeared in our driveway that day, heels tapping like a metronome of judgment, I knew something was coming. "I saw your son," she said, arms folded, sunglasses perched like armor, near lot 17. He fell, twitched, screamed. It was unsettling. Evan froze. He gripped my hand tighter. His face turned inward, like he wanted to disappear into the sidewalk. "He's epileptic," I said. "He has a diagnosed neurological condition." Lorraine's lips curled into a smile that wasn't a smile. "Yes, well, we all have something, don't we? But the HOA bylaws are clear. Public disturbances are subject to fines. And honestly, some residents have been expressing discomfort. Discomfort. My son's medical emergency was making people uncomfortable. I wanted to scream. Instead, I helped Evan into the car, turned to Lorraine and said, "We'll see about that." And oh, we did. That night, Evan had one of the worst seizures I've ever witnessed. He collapsed mid-sentence. His head slammed into the corner of our coffee table, blood everywhere. My husband, James, called 911 while I held Evan's head, praying through the sobs. The next morning, an envelope showed up on our doorstep, HOA letterhead, a $500 fine for behavioral disruption and noise disturbance. Dated exactly during the seizure. It wasn't signed, but we all knew Lorraine had made her move. Now some people might crumble, but not me. I made pancakes. I hugged my son. And then I opened my laptop. I spent 3 straight nights reading everything from the Americans with Disabilities Act to obscure HOA liability lawsuits. I joined forums. I posted our story. Within hours, other families came out of the woodwork. A mum fined for her kid playing violin. A dad whose daughter was penalized for laughing too loud at a birthday party. And then there was Elaine. Her autistic daughter had been threatened with removal from the neighborhood for erratic movements at the mailbox. We started a spreadsheet A group chat. We called ourselves the silenced. Lorraine had built her power on fear. Her strategy was subtle. Isolate, find silence, repeat. She never left a paper trail, always just enough plausible deniability. But what she didn't expect, community. Within days, we had over a dozen families on board. And then came our big move. We called for a neighborhood meeting, official on record, with media and legal reps. We cited ADA clauses, included signed statements, and made sure to let everyone know the Epilepsy Foundation would be in attendance. The day of the meeting, the community center was packed. The air buzzed with whispers. Cameras were set up. And then Lorraine walked in, heels, red lipstick, clipboard, like a holy artifact. She scanned the room and realized for the first time this wasn't her meeting. I took the mic. This isn't about one incident. I said, this is about a pattern, about years of rule enforcement disguised as leadership, about children being fined for existing. Then the footage rolled. First home video of Evan seizing his small body, convulsing me off-screen, rushing in to hold him. Gasps filled the room. Someone started crying. Then the Ring camera footage, Lorraine's voice saying, it looked fake, like he wanted attention. Dead silence. I turned to her. You called it fake, and then fined us for it. She shifted in her chair. That's not what I didn't let her finish, Miss Cortez. I called out. To the rep from the Epilepsy Foundation, would you mind explaining how this qualifies under other discrimination? Miss Cortez was calm, composed, deadly. This isn't rare. It's just rarely called out. But yes, fining families for medical behaviors is not only unethical, it's illegal. Then Elaine stood up. Her voice shook. My daughter doesn't speak. She flaps her hands when she's excited. Last year, we were fined $200 because Lorraine said it looked disturbing. Another mum followed a dad. A high school teacher, one by one, neighbors stood and shared each story, chipped away at the image Lorraine had built. Finally, a reporter asked the question we were all thinking. Mom, are you denying that you fined a family because their child had a seizure? Lorraine's face tightened. That child was disruptive. There were complaints. I followed procedure. And if that procedure violated federal disability law, the reporter shot back. Lorraine didn't answer. She stood and walked out. The board took a vote that night. In a unanimous decision, Lorraine Harper was removed from her position as HOA president. All disability-related fines were revoked, and mandatory ADA training was introduced for all board members. But that wasn't all. Denise Mitchell, our new president, and get this, a retired ER nurse made one last announcement. As part of our commitment to education, Ms. Harper will complete a 6-hour epilepsy awareness training course. This will be filmed. It will include first-hand accounts from the family she fined. And it will not be optional. No one clapped. No one needed to. The training wasn't some PR stunt. It was raw, real, and painful. Lorraine watched footage of children dropping mid-step, heard the choking sounds, sat through simulations. in pitch black to experience the disorientation. Then we spoke one by one. Elaine stood with her daughter, who just stared at Lorraine in silence. You told me she sounded like a dying animal. Elaine said I used to time our mailbox trips to avoid you. Then it was my turn. I was holding my son's hand the day you told me he was faking it. I said, that night he apologized to me for seizing. He thought he'd done something wrong. Lorraine didn't respond, but her posture changed. Her hands trembled when she accepted her certificate. For once, her silence wasn't about power. It was about listening. Weeks passed. Evan started smiling again. He even asked to ride his bike. No headphones, no fear, just him, his little blue helmet, and a plush Pikachu bouncing in the basket. One afternoon, he stopped beside Elaine's daughter, who was drawing with sidewalk chalk. He didn't say anything, just picked up a piece and started doodling beside her. 3 more kids joined. Nobody asked for permission. Nobody checked the bylaws. They just existed. Together, loud, beautiful, free. That's what healing looked like. A few days later, Denise showed up at my door with a new document, HOA Inclusion and Conduct Charter. First line, joy is not a disturbance, it's a sign of life. Yeah, we hung that one on the fridge. So now I'm asking, have you ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA? A neighbor who used the rule book like a weapon? Share your story in the comments. Let's start talking. Let's keep listening. Because change doesn't start with punishment. It starts with people who care enough to speak up.